Let's go. It's the matinade. We back with another episode. It's Brandon and Anthony presenting another hot take on. This time we're going to be talking about Call of Duty franchising, the potential last year of the CDL. We're going to be talking about, the rosters. We're going to be talking about the games we got. We're going to be talking about just what could potentially, what the league could look like moving forward if this is
If
the
there
last
is
year.
one.
Yeah, if there is one. But that's if there is one, but let's just be honest. I mean, Overwatch, they said it's the last year. So I mean, both owned by Activision.
Yep.
Let's be honest. This is probably the CDL's last year, but we talked about it off cam. Like, COVID is not to blame for this. This failure. We could talk about the games first. We could talk about franchising first. I remember. One thing I forgot to bring up is that I remember. I don't know if you saw that tweet floating around. It was like, oh my god, this is what franchising was supposed to look like, and it was all those remember the home stands, MW19.
Yeah.
First of all, let's just talk about it. MW19 was the first game, and it was all those home stands. That wasn't any better.
Yeah.
It was
only.
Yeah.
I think people forget that the only reason it was home stands because it was online. They could do that. There was no traveling, so of course they can home stand every team when it's online. It doesn't take a lot to do.
No. In the beginning, it was we were supposed to travel to everywhere. We're supposed to travel twice or something like that, but it was only going to be 8 teams flying out.
Yeah.
So they weren't even really either. That's not even
It was
a
still
real
them
major.
cutting it short.
Yeah, it's still not even a real major, and that's one thing that. It just doesn't help that it launched with MW19. It wasn't a good game. Granted, it was the game I know it sold the most. It was casuals loved it the most, but it wasn't a good competitive game to watch. It just wasn't. And then it goes into Cold War.
Good game.
Which was actually a good game. And then we just get Vanguard, MW2, and now we're on MW3, and we just got a string of... We haven't had a good game. We just haven't had a good game, and that's a remedy for success. And then you combine that with, let's talk about franchising, which is just an archaic method. I mean, it doesn't, football, is, we watch NFL, we watch NBA because we're like, that's something I can't do.
Yeah.
Esports is built on I'm better than that guy. And I'm going to show you I'm better than him. And get this, there's open brackets, and I can play in them.
Yep.
Which goes into the point of, I'll bring it up right away, the Evo. Evo, I mean, Adam Apicella tweeted it, there was 9,000 participants. And that translates into so much money. From spectator passes, also participation, the team passes, that generates so much revenue, which these teams didn't have. They didn't have any open bracket, which goes into the point of you saying that no challengers.
Yeah. That just speaks to the whole issue with the franchising in general and how this is potentially the last year. I've seen so many people complaining, and I think I saw, I forget the dude's name, the community manager for the CDL just say yeah, we're working on the CDL challenger schedule. It's bro, you're working on it? The tournament's in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I don't care what the excuse is, and I've seen people say, oh, it's because game battles went down. Activision owned game battles, so they knew it was going down.
Yeah.
And if they didn't, that's on Activision. And who's running the CDL? Activision. They don't care. They do not care about the CDL. And this year, it's just the final nail in the coffin to me. If it survives somehow, it's just going to keep limping and limping along until everyone's just all right, we give up. Because we got 4 majors this year.
4 majors.
Bro, it's ending in July. We used to end mid-August with 6, 7, 8 majors in between. Or not major, but tournaments.
I mean, remember
the CW out.
Black Ops 3, AW, man. We had so many events. I was like, oh my god, another event. Event. It was just oh my god, another. Though. It was just so many events that you just didn't use.
Just eating.
You didn't even know. You just didn't even, at that point, there was just there. That's, which also speaks into the games. Let's go into the games.
Yeah.
It's so hard to know, Optic was, Black Ops 3, the best
Yep.
team, and then Envy obviously, won, but and then same with IW, Optic, AW, but like
Yep.
the amount of tournaments spoke to something. It was like
Yeah.
that meant like, oh, you had to like show up. Now it's just league matches, and then there's a
Yep.
tournament 6 months from now, and then there's 4 tournaments spread out in a year, and you're just like, oh, anybody can win. Like, okay, all right, yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
It almost turns to like the NFL, like any given Sunday thing, like any given tournament.
yeah,
And especially when the games are so uncompetitive, like
uncompetitive,
MW3, like we spoke about it before, like the first weekend of MW3, that first weekend of the onliners. I was like, bro, I literally can't tell who's good. Like FaZe was struggling with Boston. Like, don't get me wrong, Boston is like a decent team,
yeah, they are
but
decent.
bro,
Yeah, but let's
come
be
on,
honest, it's
be
FaZe.
honest, FaZe,
It's
FaZe
FaZe.
just smoke them.
And honestly, Boston could have won that series. Probably should have won the series.
And that
And
just
if we're
speaks
saying
how
that,
uncompetitive the games are.
these games are not made for competitive, but the reason why the AW, the Black Ops, there was an actual, like, you showed up to a tournament, these top teams didn't even need to practice, because, get this, we just won this tournament, and get this, there's a tournament 3 to 4 weeks later, and we probably don't really need to practice much, because in a month, we're going to just smoke you again. And then get this, there's another tournament a month later, and we're just going to smoke you again. There's no need to practice. I'm going to use, and get this, there was an open bracket, so I can, get this, I can just warm up on LAN. I can just play 6 matches before we even get into the tournament, which speaks to how uncompetitive and these matches are.
Yeah.
The map sets are terrible. There's terrible maps. Anybody can win a map if something goes wrong, if they get, with the spawns, with just the terrible maps. I mean, the games are just so uncompetitive. And it's like, yeah, this is the strongest top 4 we've ever had.
And it feels like it's being wasted.
And it's just wasted on this terrible game. And people are gonna think, oh, we're hating. Why are you watching? It's just we've been watching Call of Duty. We've watched esports forever. It's not gonna change the fact that we've been watching these players forever. I mean, it doesn't matter what game I'm gonna try to see them compete, but it speaks to the fact that it's just, which speaks to if there's a potential after this. I don't even know how, because one thing on the matinee, we're going to just be honest, and this is something we were talking about, is that, we don't have any affiliations to anybody, so we can speak the truth in a sense that I think we
say
talked
what we
about
want to say.
this, is, all of esports is owned by the Saudis now, and there's no Adam Apicella to come save us,
Right.
Because
They buying it up.
They bought it up. Adam's on he is on a no-compete clause for another 3 years, and
I completely forgot about that.
he's on a no-compete clause for 3 years, so even if this is the last year, there is gonna be no league.
Yeah.
Unless who's starting it.
I feel like going back to your Evo point, and like the fact that there were so many games at that tournament, and how Adam always speaks to why don't we have like Halo and COD together, or like Overwatch and COD together. The only thing to me that, since Adam can't like do anything about it, the only thing that to me that would work is Xbox steps in, since they own Activision now, and start like hosting like these big like festival style tournaments with Halo, Overwatch, and COD. That's the only way I can see it moving forward.
We talked about this before, about how much easier, financially wise, that would be on everyone involved if Overwatch, Halo, say Gears, let's say Call of Duty, all had an event together, and the orgs split the costs for hosting. That would, let's say, because I remember the New York event got canceled for COD. And I don't know, let's just say we don't even know how much money it was going to be, but they couldn't afford to host the Challengers event.
Activision couldn't afford it.
Activision couldn't afford to run the Challengers event and host the New York event in Boston. And then this is the thing, though. If you had an open bracket, if you didn't have franchising, and you had everybody paying for the team passes, and let's say you sold 300 team passes for $100 a pop, there's your money. There's your money.
There's your money back.
There's your money back, but you kill your own scene, and then you wonder why the game's dead. That's why Evo was so successful. You take that, you have 9,000 participants who knows how, I literally do not know how much the team passes were, but let's say it was even $50.
I think it was like
9,000,
50 at least.
let's say 9,000 people pay $50 to compete. Your money, you're set. It covered the rent. If it didn't, how about this? And imagine though, and this is speaking to the point of all those games. Now imagine all those orgs are in one building, and they split the cost. So then they have 9,000 people compete. That probably covered all their baseline, baseline fees. They're good.
And that's not even counting all the merch you're selling once people come in, the
food,
drinks and everything. Yeah. You're making all that back so easily. And it's just,
you could just keep going. Non-stop events.
Literally, you'd have like 10 events a year. And it's such a shame. I really hope one day we get to see that like festival style, because we talk about it too. If you do that, like the amount of views, the amount of fans you'll like just start to like share between games, like it just will help the growth of everybody. But like by still doing this single tournament, this single game, like it's why these like games and these leagues are struggling. And especially the CDL. Like you have this crazy buy-in. You have this terrible company like not helping you support it at all. You put in no effort. You put in no marketing. Like we joke all the time, like, oh, it's on this weekend.
Yeah.
It's just on.
And
yeah, because we never know.
And that's even the funny part, because everybody, remember the week before it launched, they like, didn't know where if it was going to be on YouTube. It's literally, it's just on.
Like, a week before, they didn't know if it was going to be on Twitch or YouTube. Like, that is pathetic. I'm sorry. Like why keep it a secret? Just let us know.
We're just at a point with esports in general where don't get us wrong. I do think this could be the beginning of esports, but it's going to take something monumental. It's going to take, because like I said, with the Saudis owning everything, we just got to be honest. I mean, like I said, they own ESL. They own all the CSGO events, I think now. They own all of it.
Hold on. You saying the Saudis, what are they doing this year? They're doing a festival-style tournament.
They are doing a festival.
They know. They did it with PUBG. It was PUBG, and I don't think it was like another big game, but it was like something. It was like another like game to go with PUBG. It was either was it the PGC last year they did that, right?
PGC. Yeah, it was definitely something PGC.
But this year they're doing something with COD. I can't remember what the other games are, but Scump's going to it. Or invited. Everyone's like butthurt about it. Like he can't even say nothing about it.
And that's the thing. He can't say nothing because guess what? That's where the money's gonna be. Yeah. You're gonna be bought and paid for by the Saudis, and I said that's just the reality of it. I mean, listen, the Saudis own, because PUBG, we're big PUBG esports fans, and PUBG's owned by ESL, I want to say, and all the tournaments are now funded by the Saudis. So it's just the reality of esports, and that's the direction it's gonna go, and it's gonna be very political based. Because I know, Saudi wants to rebrand their image. So I don't know what Adam's going to do because, like we said, he's on a no-compete clause. He can't literally. So this will be the first. So he'll have 2 years. And then on top of that, so what is COD going to do?
How is he going to break in at that point?
Yeah, what is he going to do for COD?
He's not going to be able. He's not going to be able to do it.
And let's be honest too. Like I'm not trying to be negative, but like I don't even know if COD's going to let there be a competitive scene like after this, after the failure of their own CDL. I feel like they're gonna be petty and say and be like, no, I'm not gonna let you use our game.
You can run your 2Ks online. That's about it. Like, make sure you talk to us first, because I'm pretty sure like every time Hitch hosts those tournaments, he's got to get approval from them.
Got to get approval
from them. It's not like you just like have free reign to do whatever you want. So like when the CDL crashes, Activision's still gonna be in control. You're still going to have to go through them. It's literally up to them. And right now, it doesn't seem like they even care if it dies and like it gets reborn into something else.
And then
which is such a shame.
It's such a shame that where we're at. And I think and you know what's kind of crazy too? I think like right away, like when it launched, I think everybody kind of knew franchising was going to be the end of it. And then
you had some people that were like, it could be good.
It could be good.
And, bro, like, esports isn't sports.
It's
like,
not.
It's not going to attract sport people either. Like, I'm
That's
sorry, just like
that's why
won't.
there's
Like,
colleges.
yeah,
They wanted to fund this Challengers League, but they shouldn't have. They should have just kept it the open bracket and kept that
yep,
funding, because now they were scrambling looking for money, and there was no money to
mm-hmm,
come in to get that extra
yeah,
revenue. It's just the facts, because you literally removed half of the what made esports by people competing and participating
yep,
in the game. That's literally how esports got started. I remember, I mean, think about growing up. When we were growing up in high school, Halo 2 and 3 were like the big events.
yep.
Everyone knew about Halo Esports. It was like the foundation. But get this, I remember there used to be probably more, over like 300 open bracket teams at these events. Like
Everybody
that's
wanted in.
everybody wanted to play, and it was even at a point where people just show it, which speaks to esports and Call of Duty, because Call of Duty is
Yeah,
that type of game where, I mean, I remember they said it was like with IW, they had one of the record breaking. I remember Adam tweeting like
yeah.
their open bracket game, one of theirs had like over some crazy number, maybe 500. Maybe, I'm just gonna say 500
I think it was
teams.
that Anaheim
Remember
CDL,
I'm talking about that? Remember
map.
that one? It was like
Yeah.
insane. They had so many teams, and then look,
They had to like scramble to try and get the games done because there was so many games to
so
get
many
through.
games. Okay, you have
It's like,
500. You have
holy crap.
500 teams, right? 500 teams and $100 per team, and now that money is gone.
It's gone. And just speaking on the money too, bro, and going back to the New York major last year, which is such a shame
It
because
is
that
a
was
shame.
like one
That
of
was
the
one of the
dopest of
best
venues.
majors CDL had.
The
And we were
rumor
there.
was with that major last year specifically, they lost the Mountain Dew sponsor. Like, and no one ever really commented, like, isn't that weird that
Yeah.
Mountain Dew would want to pull out of the biggest video game out there? Like, no one ever like
Yeah,
made
that's a
a
good point.
comment about that. And then they're still struggling to get sponsors, bro. It's Call of Duty. They sell like $1 billion
It doesn't
per
make any
game every
sense.
year. You'd think every sponsor would be lining up, but they're
Yep.
not, which just speaks to like what they view the CDL to be.
Which is, it's funny because, I mean, in 2023 nobody even plays PUBG, but I remember they had that
Yeah,
trolley sponsor
they
candy
got
like
they get
a couple months,
crazy
or still
sponsors.
right now,
Oh,
and I'm just like,
KFC, like what? Like
yeah,
how are they getting these?
KFC.
The
How are they
COD can't
getting
get
the
nothing.
COD can't get anything.
It's
I mean, it's just,
crazy.
we're at a point, and that's why, I know this is a COD video, but we mentioned, one of our first videos we were talking about X Defiant, and that
Yeah,
there's a way for X Defiant to maybe be that COD transfer competitive, and people may call it corny or whatever, but that's what we're gonna honestly realistically need to
yeah,
fill that void. I really don't see any, because with Adam being out for 2 years, let's just be honest, what is he gonna do?
yeah.
People
He
are
can't.
gonna people because really, realistically, people are, what, I'm gonna sit around and wait for Adam to, I'm saying, if
Right,
somebody who worked with him at Esports Engine or something, hey, I don't have a job, I'm just gonna wait for Adam to start something in 2 years. What are you gonna do now? Where are you gonna get your
right.
money? You know what I mean? So like, people are gonna be moving on. People are gonna go be getting different jobs. People have things
Going
they
to
got
X
to do.
Defiant.
Going to X Defiant, going different places. Maybe joining ESL. Maybe joining the Saudis. And then
Yeah,
Adam's gonna be looking around like, the
no,
one
nowhere to
meme,
break
yeah,
in.
like nowhere to
Like how do I
go.
get in?
And I'm not
For real
wishing that
though.
on him. I'm not wishing that on him. But we just gotta be real. And this is where, unfortunately, the CDL state is. I'm trying to think if there's
Yeah.
anything else we want to say
Well,
before
no,
wrapping
I
it
just
up.
want to. I just want to say, even because we brought up like how bad the games are, like, and even
Yeah,
if it continues, like, are we really gonna keep putting up with these games, bro? Like, they're
MW3.
not good games. Like, no game is competitive. And I know, like, people don't want to go back to jetpacks because, like, the casuals hate it and they
Yeah,
didn't make money. But, well, then that's what we're gonna keep dealing with. Activision knows they're just gonna keep making these casual nostalgia games. Maybe we get baited next year because Treyarch. Everyone gets baited by
yeah,
Treyarch.
yeah.
Cold War, Black Ops 4. It's always like at the perfect time. Activision is so smart with how they space their games out to bait people back
Bait
in.
people
It
in
is
the nostalgia.
crazy. And they always have that one good, like decent game, like right in between the two terrible games. Like, oh wow,
Cold
like
War.
they're back, and then it comes back to shit again, and we're back to nostalgia
And now
games.
we're back to MW3. We're playing Terminal. People rotating in 60 seconds. Like, what are we watching? There's no
Can't
way
watch it.
people are like watching this and be like, "This is good
Yeah.
Like this is good and competitive gameplay. Like you're lying to yourself, but the thing
This is
is,
what you want to keep watching for the next couple of
we're
years
lying
now.
to ourselves because we don't have that
Anything else
competitive.
to
We don't have
compare it
anything
to?
else to watch. We don't have
Yeah.
much. So of course we're gonna lie and be like, why are you watching that? What? Everybody was saying MW2 was one of the worst CODs of all time. Did they watch it, right? They played it, right? They said it was the worst game they ever played because there's nothing else to do.
Right?
That's
Literally
just the
no other
reality of
game.
the world. There's no other good games. There's nothing else to do. So you're just waiting and you're hoping something good, and then we get MW3 and we're just like, what are we playing? Karachi. We're playing sub base. Like we don't
Like
even
all
know.
these old MW2 maps,
And
and
they just
everyone's
don't
finally
work.
realizing, like, wait, these maps aren't good, or they're just lying, or like, oh, they're still decent. It's like, nah, they're not. They're
And then
terrible.
it's just we're just. I'm at a loss for words. I don't even have anything more.
Right?
Because this is
And
where
hold on,
we're gonna lie.
and then speaking on the X Defiant thing too, all the pros, like X pros, like Apathy, like JCap, like even Scump when he was playing in Zuma, bro, they were really excited when they were playing X Defiant because they know deep down COD will never get that same feeling that it did
It
during like
did.
AW, like
They
Black
haven't
Ops
felt
3,
that
even
in a
Black
while,
Ops
man.
4. They
They
haven't.
haven't. They know
And you can tell,
even if X Defiant isn't the best game, it brought something of
yeah,
that feeling
that
back.
spark back. Yeah, 100%. And I feel like just to segue like off like how bad the games are, it's so frustrating to watch the CDL year after year and just like see players that should be performing better than they are, but like underperforming because the games are so bad and it is literally just sucking the energy out of them. Like Abizi, for example, in Vanguard, bro, he was so like just like average because he hated the game,
Yeah.
bro. Like that's not fun. Like that like kills my vibe watching somebody underperform because the game's so mid.
It's that same with Dashy and MW19. He was like,
Yeah,
"What is this game? What
he
is
was
this
terrible
game?"
because the game was so ass.
This game was so bad. I mean, we're watching players like you said underperform, and on top of that, it also let's just also talk about the games are map to map.
Yeah, literally
Hill to
map
hit,
to
like
map.
remember like Gavutu, you could just get in that blender. There's nothing you're gonna do. Gavutu, that
Literally,
was it. You're in the
the
blender.
team would
Berlin,
start off
Berlin.
shredding and then lose in the second half because like it just like flipped.
It
The
flipped.
game just like
Berlin was the
changed.
same way. Berlin was the same way. You could just
Real
get
shit.
put in the blender. That was it. These games are like made not competitively. They're made so that there's like favors on sides
Yeah.
and certain hills, certain like there's no even base games
Yeah.
anymore. Like Cold War was like an even base. I would say for the most part Cold War there was
Yeah, for the most part.
nothing too
Spawns were a little
yeah,
weird throughout the year, but
nothing too crazy where
best
like
we've had
teams
since.
couldn't break. There was unbreakable hills. Like we
Yeah.
go to MW two Unbreakable Hills,
Yep.
MW3 Unbreakable Hills. Like we were playing Bagra
Busting.
Control or no Fortress Control. Like what are we watching? We were literally watching players. Listen, in 2023, we're watching
It's
players
spawn trapped
spawn trapped and not move. And not move in a competitive
and
game.
give
Just
up.
not move. And
Bro, do you
give
remember how
up.
many games there would be like 30 seconds and they would just stop moving because they knew there's nothing you could do? Like, I don't know how anyone can just continue to watch this and be like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's fine.
but we're lying to ourselves and just being like, yeah,
Like, that's a big problem.
this is good. This is awesome. Fluky
I-
fortress or hydro spawns, fluky hydro
Yeah.
spawns. Sometimes you wouldn't be deep enough. Somebody's rotating behind you somehow. You're in the back
Get
of
the spawn
get the
behind you,
spawn to
even
your
when you are
left, to
deep.
your right. Like who
Yeah.
knows what was going on that map? I mean, it's just. MW3,
It just,
we're gonna see. Listen, it's early in the season, and we could talk about the power rankings real quick. Last little,
yeah.
the power rankings. It's just Optic Phase, New York, Ultra.
Everybody
Miami,
else.
Miami. Miami. I know Miami's undefeated, but they haven't had a tough. They haven't played a top 4 team yet. They haven't
Yeah.
played Ultra. They haven't played New York. They haven't played Phase. They haven't played Optic. They could be that good, but
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him be that good because I always did like Heretics back in like the Black Ops 4 days and
yeah, true.
just like the Spanish, the bombos. It was
Yeah,
always
yeah,
fun to like
yeah,
watch. And
that
listen
was
to.
always good. I mean, I just think like there's not much to the top 4, but like you said, the top 4 teams don't even look.
Top 4-ish. because the game is so uncompetitive. It keeps even the worst teams in. Like we have what the Gorillas are like looking good.
Yeah,
Come on,
they beat New
come
York,
on,
right? Or
yeah,
who?
like come on.
It was they beat
No, it
it
was
was something like
somebody.
that.
They beat
Oh,
somebody good, and we're
it was
just
they
like,
beat
oh.
somebody good, and we were just like, oh, or it was Ultra. I think it was Ultra.
I think it was Ultra. Yeah, it was
Was it
Ultra.
Ultra? And then Boston beat
Yeah,
Ultra? Or
because
I could
Scrap
be.
was talking shit, and then it was like, oh god, bro.
I can no. I think it was New York. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I think it was New York because I know Boston beat Ultra.
Hold on, let me look it up.
Look it up. You can look it up the last matches. But I think I remember I'm gonna comment on and wait, that's one thing we can comment on too. The Merc and Maven not casting online matches for as long as they did, to be honest,
Absolute crime.
killed my vibe watching it as well. I just was like,
Completely agree.
Merc and Maven, like, what are we doing? And then, but yeah, I remember watching them on Terminal HP. Merc was like, all right, it looks bad for Surge against Optic, and they're down 120 seconds, but they're gonna rotate now, and they're gonna also get 120. That's what we're playing. We're playing a game where you off P1 and P2 you get 120. Like it was what was the map in MW19 where it was you could get like 120. It was like the small
It was the
map.
little warehouse.
The little warehouse. Yeah,
map,
remember?
and the back warehouse.
And the back
hill.
warehouse spawn.
Literally couldn't get to it.
You just couldn't get to it.
There was a giant wall, and you had to cross the street. It's like, bro, what are we playing? But nah,
that's where we're at.
I just looked up. It was Boston 3-0'd Ultra.
Yeah,
and like I said, don't get me wrong. We love Slasher. Boston's a solid team. But 3-0 in Ultra, who's supposed to be a top 4 team? Bro, come on. Come on. Be honest. Come on.
That's where we're at. If you're going to lie to yourself, listen, we're here to give the honest hot takes. This is the matinee for you.
Come on.
I think that's it for us. We're giving you the unfiltered takes. I think if you guys like what we are saying, we're not biased. We're gonna say our exact opinion. We're not gonna just come on here and sugarcoat anything for you. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure
looking forward to the matches next weekend. We'll probably put out a video for that.
Yeah, we're gonna cover the matches next weekend. We will talk about it and give our takes. All right, that's it from us. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.